Hey guys, what's up? Mouse here again, and in this video, I just want to update you guys with my current Jinwoo build and what I am doing right now. So the reason I'm making this video is number one, quite a number of people actually requested for it because they just wanted to see my character right now. Probably they're looking for a benchmark, or probably they just wanted a guide and see whether or not on the right track. Although I cannot guarantee that I'm the one on the right track, still I believe that this video might be able to give you some ideas. And the second reason is that actually this is the real reason. We actually have a mission right now in the content creator program so that we're gonna be able to get our codes. So we have to make guide or a content about the growth tips on skill runes, skill settings, artifacts, and more. But I kind of don't want to create something specifically for that. I believe there are so many of that videos already. So what I'm gonna do now instead is just to show you my character and share you some tips on how I grow my character specifically and how I make it stronger, instead of making a general guide on some tips on skill runes or whatever. I know you guys already know all of those, right? I know most of you guys, like 95% of those of you who are gonna watch my video, who are subscribed here in our channel and part of our community, already knows most of those things. So one of the most requested one is to actually for me to show my artifacts. Right now, this is my current artifact build for Power of Destruction. I do have my Burning Curse set 2-piece just to get that damage dealt increase. In the case of Power of Destruction and other long fights, I'm still not a believer, like totally not a believer of the 8-piece curse set, but who knows, might change in the future. But for now, this is what I'm currently doing. Still my 4-piece beast set for that extra attack percent increase. You might be wondering why I'm using a grid here. And the only reason why is that the 2-piece set here won't really have much impact. Okay, the available sets that would have a big impact is very limited, to be honest. And so what I did instead, this is just for now, is to use any burning artifact that already has a good stats, even in comparison to my old level 55 artifacts. They already beat every single 2-piece artifact set of the old that I currently have here. And now with this, I'm now currently at a 90% precision. This is for Power of Destruction. The reason I'm using precision there is that to keep my damage consistent so that I won't have to rely on RNG and repeat my Power of Destruction over and over again. And also because the amount of attack that I'm gonna lose is something that is very, very minimal currently in my case. That is why I added a bit of precision and tried to stay at 90%, because if I don't, this is gonna be at around 74%. And if I have 74% here, that's gonna be a very, very random damage. And so for the crit rate, you still kind of want to stay at around 50%, but do take note that when you are in under heavy penalty, all of these are gonna be heavily penalized. And if you want to know more about the penalty on crit rate, especially the artifact crit rate, please do watch PayneBlade's video explaining how the combat power works. I will put the link in the description. Crit damage is at around 177%. So one of the things that people actually ask a lot is about crit damage. What is the sweet spot? About diminishing returns, what is that? So in this video, I'm gonna discuss that a bit, but I'm gonna have another video covering this entire topic probably. Now, I removed all the critical hit damage gears that I currently have, and I still have 1348, which comes from my current gem setup. Let me just show it to you real quick. I do have a lot of critical hit damage here. So the first thing that you would want to learn about critical hit damage, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you already noticed this, is that the more critical hit damage raw, not the percentage, that you add, the less critical hit damage percentage it will be converted to. So just to show you how it works here, for example, I would add my boots here, which has a 4.4k critical hit damage. Let me just add it there. So my critical hit damage now is 157%. Okay, and the value is now at a total of 5,810. Let me just remove it again. and now it's 92.4. So 157 minus 92 is around 65% critical hit damage value. So my critical hit damage here, which is 4.4k, resulted to a 65% critical hit damage percentage. Now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna add more. So we added about 3k or something, and it's now 143.75%. Our accessories, about 3k probably, something like that, is 143.75. So our accessories added 143 minus 92, which is a 51%. And now we already have a 143 here, right? And if you remember, our shoes earlier added 65% critical hit damage. Look at what's gonna happen. So this 143, and then we're gonna add this. We now have 177%. So from there, we only got around 34% critical hit damage. So the point here is that the more critical hit damage you add, the less critical hit damage percent you're gonna get from those. Which is why it's very difficult, like insanely difficult, to go up to 200%, let's say, or above 200%, because it's gonna be less and less and less. So knowing that, there will be cases wherein it would be much better to just add more on other stats rather than just trying to force it on a single stat like critical hit damage. So just a disclaimer, I don't know how defense penetration works yet in this game. My understanding is that it's just an ignore def mechanics. Okay, the damage increase is the same. I think PayneBlade already did some tests here on damage increase as well. There is a not noticeable damage increase. So my point being here is that trying to force your stats on, for example, critical hit damage and thinking that will add a lot of damage output is probably not how you want it to be. And that's not all, guys. That's not all. Let me explain to you real quick how crit damage works in this game. Okay, so let me just show you real quick here. I might do another video on this, guys, but just to kind of explain it to you in the simplest way I can. Let's say we have a normal attack damage, non-crit, which is 100k here, and then our crit damage is at 50%. So what happens here is that you're gonna get 50% of the non-crit damage, 100k. So that's gonna be, let's say, 50k. Okay, that's gonna be 50k. So your total damage is gonna be 100k plus 50k. If we add more, for example, you add more 50% on your critical hit damage, you're still gonna get 50% from that original 100k. So that's gonna be another 50k. It's not gonna be something like this. For example, we're already at 150k here at this point, the first 50% critical hit damage. You're not gonna add 50% of the 150k. You're only gonna add 50% of your original non-critical damage. Okay, so at this point, your damage is already, for example, 150k, and at this point, your damage is already at 200k. Let's say we add 100% more. So we are now at 200% critical hit damage. So 100% of 100k is gonna be 100k. Alright, so at this point, your damage is already gonna be 300k, okay? Your original damage plus 50k plus 50k plus 100k. So a total of 300k damage. The first 50% you added, like this one, we saw a direct 150% increase from this. Okay, 100k to 150k. If you add another 50%, let's say here, you add another 50k, you're gonna get 200k damage. So here, the visible increase is really 50% damage. But here, in relation to your previous damage, it's not gonna be 50%. So 150k to 200k is only around 30%, 33% damage increase. Okay, so let me just add this here. Okay, just to kind of show you, is gonna be 250k. So 100k plus 50k plus 50k plus 50k. So, and from 200k now to 250k is just a 25% increase. So as you keep on adding and adding and adding more critical hit damage, the damage dealt in relation to your previous damage is gonna be less and less. This happens to most or every multiplier here, even the attack percent. Okay, so the point being here is that you might think that adding more crit damage is gonna give you like insane amounts of damage, but the truth is, once you already have like tons of critical hit damage, for instance Jinwoo, let's say Jinwoo has a plum sword A5, this already gives you 60% critical hit damage passive, right? At 5 stacks of that plum flower. And if you use the amplifying rod, that's gonna be another 32%. So let's say, for instance, you now have reached a total of, let's say, 300% critical damage, all things included, okay? Your 100% here, this one, the first one is your normal attack, and the 300% here is the critical damage. So overall, you have a 400% of your damage, including your original damage, okay? So your 400% damage, for example, you add, let's say you add 40% critical hit damage on top of that. Will become a total of 400%, 440% here. And the 400% to 440% is just a 10% visible damage increase. So overall, not only that the critical hit damage percentage becomes very difficult to get from the raw critical hit damage, its actual damage output is actually also becoming less. So when it comes to the sweet spot, I don't know. I haven't done any math on like optimizing this. It's not my thing. I might do it if needed, but right now I don't feel the need to do it, because to me it's actually pretty obvious already that I need to balance things out. So my approach here really is just to balance it out. I'm not sure about the sweet spot, but generally in my character, I just try to achieve 170 to 180% here. And another thing is that the critical hit damage, not only that it became very, very small, it's hard and it became smaller, it also heavily relies on the critical hit rate. So that is one of the reasons why a lot of people are having difficulties when it comes to actually clearing hard contents, because most of the builds right now are heavily focused on just getting crit. Let's go for 200% critical hit damage. But in actual, especially if you're using a plum sword and if you already have other sources of critical hit damage like toughness set, for example, it's gonna be less and less and less. Okay, so again, this is purely theoretical. I don't know the exact sweet spot here. I believe that balance is still the key. So here in my character, I actually just prioritize attack and attack percent, just to be safe. Okay, just to be safe, because the moment you increase your attack, it's gonna increase everything, because it's the very, very core of the damage, right? In terms of attack versus attack percent, PayneBlade also has a video on that. In the early game, when there's not much sources of raw attack yet, lower artifacts, lower level weapons, then the raw attack was winning. But it's still a case-to-case basis, okay? Still a case-to-case basis, because the attack percent is added based on your current raw attack. Okay, so if you have high raw attack, then you add a good amount of percentage, then that might be better than adding another raw attack. So I don't think about these things. If there's any difference, to be honest, it's very minimal, and we don't have choices anyway on what artifacts or what stats our artifacts are gonna be able to roll. And once you have them, you can just compare, right? It's not something that I think we all have to like spend a lot of time on, right? Just add whatever you have. Attack percent, it's all the same. At the end of the day, once you get a better one, okay, just change it. There are other people who specializes on doing those statistics and mathematics. Not me, honestly. Again, all of these are just my rough estimation. If you who have been watching my content for the past few weeks now, I also have a separate build on those contents wherein I totally remove all my critical hit rate because not working in like 300k gap of total power, totally not working. So there, I only rely on my plum sword passives, sharp perception passives, egrees, etc. Okay, so if you want to know more about that, the penalty, again, watch PayneBlade's video. Link will be in the description. So that's all I can give you when it comes to artifacts, okay? Once you get your main stats, go for it, roll it, and once you get a better one, roll it again, then compare. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna use multiple copies anyway. Because your hunters are also gonna use whatever gears you have. Like, look at this. Even my Alicia is following the same thing. Attack percent, then critical hit damage, attack percent, etc. There. So it's pretty much the same thing because once I get a better one, I use it on Jinwoo and the old ones will be transferred to my second best hunters. But of course, on hunter content, I use Jinwoo's gears here. So again, guys, just a disclaimer, this is just my character. All of these, like most of these, are purely theoretical and based only on my own estimation. But I do believe that it is working really well. You know, my contents, hard mode, done. Chapter 17 here. Okay, 725 total power. Power of destruction, 816M. What I'm doing right now, it might not be perfect, but it's actually working. So if you need a guide, you can just follow what I'm doing. And in case I'm wrong, then sorry guys. That's it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm confident that we're good here. And also, another thing about attack and attack percent, whatever you see here is what you're gonna be able to bring inside. Okay, it's 23,000 here. And if you get one from, let's say, the double-edged sword or from the percentage, okay, from the weapons plus 3% artifacts, those are separate, okay? Those are only gonna be added on top of this once you enter the dungeon. So basically, there are 3 types of attack, okay? The artifact attack percent, and the attack percent from the passives that are gonna be based upon both the attack and attack percent from the artifacts here. It's a big damage boost. Although I'm not really like 100%, probably 80% sure that whatever you see here, you bring it inside, you add 12%, you get 12% of what you bring. So totally unrelated. So for my skills, when it comes to leveling up my skills, as you can see, a lot of these are not at max level. So the only reason that I upgraded some of these, like this one, for example, is that I used them in the past. I would suggest that you guys to just save your skill scrolls and do not touch anything that is unnecessary, because some people are actually just pressing here just to increase the, you know, the level and get some total power. Don't do that. Resources are very, very difficult. Yeah, and for power of destruction, you know my skills here. Cutting Rush Annihilation, best one. My favorite one. And then the rest are really situational already. So for the Blessing Stones, this one is kind of situational as well. We all have different Blessing Stones here. But like I said, one is the attack percent. Is gonna be a very good source of damage. The actual damage output is gonna diminish once the expert stacks reach a very, very high level, and if you have attack percent buffs, especially for example from melee, etc. But overall, this one's good. But really, most of the time, the only things I use here is the pulverize, this double-edged sword, the bloodlust, and sharp perception. I use this specifically in hard contents where I need more crits. Okay, and the rest, this one is actually also good. It will also add attack at the cost of increasing your mana consumption. And Reawakening, also good. You also want this in some game contents. Boss Slayer, quite decent. But if you're a Plum user, it might be difficult. Increases the cooldown of dash. This one, weakness detection, of course. So there are a lot of things here, like just adjust to any situation. I can't say much about this. I actually made a mistake here because I got triggered and bought the rate up draw ticket here. from the celebration, commemorative coin. But ideally, you would want to purchase this mana power extra for now, because this one helps a lot to increase your damage in story and other game content, but most importantly in the battlefield of time, because in the battlefield of time the skill levels really matter a lot if you want to rank. For the weapons, guys, this applies to all. Get the plum sword, get it to A3, and you're gonna be able to finish most of the game content here. So the only weapons that I feel are important to me, doing all of the things that I have been able to finish in the hard mode, doing the power of destruction, doing the reverse mode, is actually just a few weapons, to be honest. Just the plum sword, I accidentally got it to A5. It's not in my rate up draw. I stop at A3. And the Moon Shadow, of course, for my power of destruction, as well as for my Vulcan. And the West Wind, and the Radirus family longbow for chapter 18 of the story mode hard, as well as for power of destruction. And West Wind, we already know this. It's good everywhere. Should be nerfed, I feel, because everything can be West Winded right now. Do not dismantle your SR weapons, not until you max them out at all cost, because you do not know when these things will be useful. A lot of this can be used in Battlefield of Time, in the story mode, and a lot of other really crucial situations. I think that's gonna be it for this video. If you have questions regarding my build, or if you see something wrong with my build, please do let me know in the comment section. I also want to improve my character, and if you have questions or clarifications, you may ask in the comment section. If I said something wrong, please do let me know in the comment section as well, so that we can correct it and test it out. Alright, so that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and see you on the next one.